Hello. Right, in this tutorial, I'm going to explain the blur and sharpen and smudge tool that you've got available to you in Advanced PIXLR, which is this one on the side that looks like a water droplet. I have put a stock image in to show you guys how this works. I've deliberately chosen an image that's really crisp so that you can see the contrast when I start to blur it. So you can see when you click on the blur tool on the left that you then have these three options at the top here to blur, sharpen or smudge. And then similar to some of the other tools that I've shown you guys in the tutorials already, you have the option to change your brush. So when you click on here, you can change the size and the softness of your brush, and you also have all the different shape options down here, which if you've watched my tutorial on dodge and burn, you'll have already seen some of these things. Then again, similarly to other tools, you can change the strength of what you're doing. So how much you want to blur or sharpen your image. Right, we're going to start the strength on 50, so you see kind of midway. And I'm going to choose a brush size that again sort of sits in the middle, and the same for the softness, just so that you can see the sort of mid-range. So we're starting with blur on the top here. And this is a really good way to blur sections of your image to bring the areas of your photo which maybe you want to be sharper and crisper to the focal point of your image. It's a very similar technique to what you might do with portrait mode on your phone, where it will start to blur out all of the background and maybe the person will be much crisper. So you can see I've got quite a big brush size here, and I'm just going to hold it over these chairs and drag, and you can see already that quite fast it starts to really fade those into the distance so that they just become all a little bit squidgy and a bit blurred out, and start to kind of haze away a little bit. If I just undo that and show you what that would look like if I did it on the highest strength available, so that was 50. If I put it all the way up to 100 and then do it again, you can see it distorts the image even more. So it really does start to look like you're kind of squinting or looking at it through really thick glass. So that's your kind of initial blur tool. I mentioned at the beginning about the shapes available to you as well. So if you scroll down, maybe select this kind of flowery shape here for your brush, and make it a little bit bigger, and change the softness up a little bit. And then I click on an area of my image using this shape, it's going to just blur that particular area. So you can see the cursor will change to that shape initially, and I can click, and every time I click, it will start to change that area more and more. Personally, I don't love this as a technique. I think it can make it a little bit harder for you to have a really professional approach, but you guys might want to experiment with it and play around. You can start to see the area that it was blurring there. So if I undo it, what I've just done. So undo, as a reminder, is Control-Z on your keyboard, and that will just start to remove any changes and edits that you've made. Right, I'm going to move on to sharpen next, and I'm going to put my brush back to what it was, just like a normal circle for this. Now, where I'm using stock images, sharpen is a little bit harder because it's already quite a sharp image. It's already quite crisp. So this might not show as much impact on this as possible. But for photos that you're taking that are maybe slightly lower quality, especially if you're taking them on your phones, maybe with slightly poor lighting or whatever, sharpen's a really good tool for you. So again, I'm putting size kind of midway, and I've got it on kind of the hardest setting in the hope that it will show you guys the most impact. So strength is on 100 at the moment, but I am just going to make my brush a little bit bigger. Let's move that up a little bit. Okay. So what this is going to do is really bring out areas of your photograph so that they become more vivid, and you can start to see as I'm clicking, it's drawing out some of those stronger colours. Where I said this is already a really good quality image, actually it starts to almost distort it beyond what you would like. Personally, I think it's quite a cool technique, and actually it's something that you might manipulate in your work. But if the photo was of a lower quality, it would be bringing out some of those colors to make the image look crisper. I've already started with quite a good one. So if I just Control Z and undo that again, just so we go back to what it was normally. That was on strength 100. If I kind of knock it down a little bit, just so you can see what it would be like on a slightly lower strength. So you can see the more I click, the more extreme it's going to get. But that's the Sharpen tool. And then if we now go to Smudge, now I quite like Smudge. It's a little bit like the Liquify tool, but you can be a bit more controlled. So I'm just going to drop my size down a little bit first. And I'm going to smudge this coffee board here. And if I just hold it down, you can see as I move my mouse, it actually moves the whole image. That's only on strength 42. If I do that on 100, it makes a big difference as to what your image looks like. So that's it back to normal. If I put the strength up to 100 and I do that again and drag and pull, it's completely distorting. So if you really want to manipulate and play around with your images, actually this is a really nice tool to do this with. And unlike Liquify tool, which is pushing it in different directions or spiraling it, this is much more linked to where you move your mouse. If I just undo that again, if we put the strength sort of a lot lower with this tool, and I'm going to make my brush just a little bit smaller, you can see that you can be a little bit more sophisticated with what you're doing than where I was just sort of dragging and dropping it. And obviously here I've got a much smaller space, so I can start to kind of work around areas and smudge them so that they start to blend in a little bit more, but it doesn't look like I've suddenly dragged the whole image around. So play around with those strengths and those sizes, because that really impacts what you're able to do and the subtleties that you're able to kind of exploit as a result.